Good evening, folks. This is Sunday evening, the 2nd of March, and we are starting off with a conversation about Donald Trump's address to a joint session of Congress on Tuesday evening, the 4th. And this is not, by the way, the State of the Union address. This is going to be Donald Trump talking about his major legislative goals and, of course, touting his governance by executive order stance, because he has essentially neutralized the Congress. I might add that the Congress has pretty much neutralized themselves as well, at least the GOP side of the Congress, which is in the majority, which could stand up to Donald Trump should they choose to do so. But here's my point. People need to push the Democrats to take a stand on Tuesday night. There can be no, we'll work across the aisle with you. There can be no glad handing. None of the typical things you see when a Congress works together across the aisle, because we do not work across the aisle with fascists. It's as simple as that. Our goal here is to make sure that the Democrats need to act like the opposition party on Tuesday evening. I don't care whether they refuse to stand up. I don't care whether they turn their back on him. I don't care whether they tear up his speech. I don't care whether or not they show up. Now, MSNBC is suggesting that they simply don't attend. And that would be great as long as they all don't attend. However, the Democrats on Tuesday should not treat this like a normal congressional address, because we are not in the midst of a normal government right now. We are in the midst of a coup, of a fascist takeover by a dictator. And that is where we are. And the Democrats must act accordingly. And so must the people. Do not tune the speech in. You can watch it on C-SPAN later or go to YouTube later and watch it. But nobody should be watching this in real time. You will be legitimizing Donald Trump if you do. So here's my point. Tomorrow, you need to get on the phone to the members of the Senate and the House on the Democratic side of the aisle and tell them that they need to act like the opposition party on Tuesday night. They need to take a stand against tyranny, because that is exactly what's going on here. It is our duty to get on the phone. No emails, no time for that. You need to call your legislators tomorrow. The speech is Tuesday evening. You can even call on Tuesday, but the speech is Tuesday evening, and your voices need to be heard now. So please, do yourselves a favor and stand up for democracy and start pushing the Democrats to act like the opposition party. That's it.
I have a couple of things. Number one, I know from union actions, it has to be unified from both the Democratic Party and the Democratic voters. Right now, yes, the Democratic Party is reeling. They're trying to figure out what went wrong with the election. But we have to continue to speak to them and tell them we do not agree with this. We do not. Now, I have a couple of suggestions. Whatever they do, it needs to be unified. Whether they come in, walk out in the middle after 10 minutes, don't show up at all. But it cannot just be 10 guys. Okay? It can't, in order to be effective. Also, let's say they show up and, they are criticized or whatever. We need to push forward for not only this meeting or this address, whatever you want to call it, but anytime Donald Trump speaks, you turn your back. You're done. We are done with him. And I agree with Deb in terms of he is ruling through executive order, which has been my fear for 10 years. The weaponization of the executive order. One, final suggestion. No, you do not watch the address. But what I would love to see is more people watching Alyssa Slotkin react than watching Trump. If we have more of a, more of a ratings boost listening to her than listening to him, number one, that'll drive him crazy. And number two, that will also send a message.
Now,
that's what I have.
They haven't passed a bill yet that has helped the American people. Okay. There are 3 bills in the running. And, one of them is the budget, which must not pass the Senate. It must not. Okay. My point is that Donald Trump, between January 20th and today, has issued 76 executive orders. None of them have helped the American people. Many of them have harmed the American people. And the budget will harm millions of Americans. So this is the time to push the Democrats to not legitimize Donald Trump's priorities. Get on your phone tomorrow. I'm going to say it one more time. Members of the Congress, both in the House and the Senate, need to hear from you. Get going, folks. All right. Flood their phones. And if it's busy, call back. Persevere. All right. Maybe we can survive the next 4 years if we start doing this. But tomorrow, we've got to make this effort.
And we need to build this as well. It can't just be for this one address. Every time Trump speaks, you speak out to your Senate. And I'm not saying don't do it tomorrow either. Do it tomorrow, do it Tuesday, do it any time that this man is speaking. Tell your Democratic senators and House members to turn it off. Don't listen. Slotkin can listen. Hakeem Jeffries can listen. Yes, they need to know what the man says. Okay? But turn your back. Do not work with this man. And anyone who promotes bipartisanship, there's always the primaries. You notice Fetterman's been shutting up lately. That's what you have to do. You have to tell these people. And by the way, there's clapback on GOP House reps in Pennsylvania as well. So this democracy isn't a one-day event. It's not just on November 5th.
By the way, it wouldn't be a bad idea for people who are being harmed by the GOP, who are actually Republicans, to call their legislators before the meeting as well. Okay?
Correct.
It would not be a bad idea. I know most of you don't listen to Democrats when we talk, but this might be a time you want to make an exception. We'll talk to you again.
They don't care when they take your job away. They don't care if you're R or D by your name. Just so you know.
You've already accomplished for them what they needed. You put them in power. Now you need to take them down. That's what we're saying. We'll talk to you later.